I got to buy his business. And frankly, I got some great clients and a really good staff. He was a really good hirer. So about 18 months into my journey, I got the opportunity to buy his business and I picked up the office in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. So I got a whole bunch of clients. I got, what was it? I guess 4 additional technicians, a physical location along with it. That's how I ended up with the second area. Yeah.
How many technicians do you have? Do you have
Sure.
vans?
So,
What does your footprint look like?
no, so fast forward today, we have about 120 clients.
Oh,
We manage about 2,500 seats, as we call them, individuals that we're supporting. We
wow. Okay.
have 9 full-time technicians, myself, and a full-time, what we call service delivery manager, which is a logistics person. She keeps all the trains running on time, does all the scheduling, orders all the equipment, keeps the rest of us going where we're supposed to be going. I can tell you this year we were just short of 3 million in revenue. I wanted to hit 3 million and I missed it. I was a little annoyed.
Oh, hello and welcome to the Tracer Franchising Podcast, where I interview great franchisors and successful franchisees so you can learn more about the industry. Today, I've got Keith Tessler from CMIT Solutions, which is a managed service provider. We will go in more detail, but for now, let's just start with you, Keith. Give us a little bit about you, where you are, and how things are going today.
Sure. So, I joked that I started doing tech support in third grade. That's when I started playing with computers, and this was in the early '80s when no one knew anything, including the teachers. So they used to pull me out of class to help them with their computers. I was that kid. I didn't realize this would become a career. What is it? 40 some odd years later. So that early, I was doing that. I was always involved in computers my entire life. About 5 years ago, I had sold a business, was looking for my next thing, and spent a little time out of technology. Wanted to get back in, and that's why I started looking around for a next step, if you will.
Awesome. And so you said you've got you got 2 territories, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And you're in Philadelphia. Anything else we should know, just like broad strokes before we get into this? Okay. All right. Well, then let's start with what you were doing before. So you were already a business owner. Tell us a little bit about kind of what you were doing and how that
Sure.
went.
So I spent most of my career, about 25 years, in a family wedding services business. My father, brother, and I had a business where we sold disc jockey, videography, and photography services to brides on a series of websites. It was a hell of a business. It was really an incredible thing. We had a national presence. We had about 60 people here in Philadelphia who managed and ran the business and did all the back end operations. We had about 1,800 weekend warriors, as we called them, that actually showed up and did the weddings all over the United States. It was a
Wow.
lot of fun. My brother did the sales and marketing. I did the operations and all the IT because I was always the IT guy. We built all the websites and all that kind of stuff. I've done a lot of coding in my life. I say I'm my 10,000 hours of coding in. But all great things come to an end. Frankly, the millennials weren't getting married in anywhere near the numbers of previous generations. The wedding business was falling apart. So we decided to sell the business. We got out. After that, I did a couple of years in executive coaching with Vistage, which was really good, but I was too young. It was too early. I didn't want to be a coach. I wanted to get back into tech. I wanted to want to coach. I wanted to play the game. So I started looking for my next adventure, and I started looking for, frankly, I wanted something a little bit easier than the first business was a lot of fun and incredible, but it was very, very hard. I wanted something easier, so I looked at franchising, and specifically, I looked at franchising in the technology space.
Okay. Very cool. So this is, I mean, that you kind of answered a little bit of the question. Let's go a little deeper, right? Like, you know how to run a business, right? And so, a lot of people kind of look, I feel, derisively on franchising as like it's for people who don't know how to run a business, right? So let's go a little bit more into why you chose, just not even CMIT yet, right? Like why you chose to go the franchising route.
No, I think that's a really reasonable question because, look, the previous business, particularly the wedding business, was we were the only. There was no industry. There was no one who. There was no one to copy. There were no industry conferences. There was nobody like us. We were unique in the country, and that was really cool. Let us be very creative, do incredible things. It's an incredible story. But what it also was very, very difficult. Everything we did had to be reinvented from scratch. Everything we did. And I felt like it made business too hard. Well, I'd run a business. It made it very difficult. And I knew nothing about the MSP business. Frankly, my brother had always done the sales and marketing. I didn't know that much about sales and marketing. I was in operations and IT. So I really was looking for someone to hand me a kit and say, here's business made easier for you. Here's someone who can help with the sales and marketing. And I knew I could do the rest of it if I just had those little pieces of help. I wanted those pieces of help with it.
Okay, very
Yeah.
cool. And then let's go into, I guess, how did you find this, right?
Yeah, I found it the way a lot of people do. I started Googling around. I got assaulted by business brokers. I think as soon as you fill out your name on one of those sites, 7 franchise consultants call you and try to help you. And I found 3 different franchises that were kind of in what I wanted to do. I won't name names. One was obviously CMIT Solutions. One of the others that I looked at, I very quickly ran away from. And I ran away because I got the impression that those people, let's call them franchisor A, um, really weren't in the business of technology or helping clients or even helping their franchisees. What I really got the impression is they were in the business of living off the franchisee funds. There were things in what they wanted to do that just didn't make any sense. They said, you're going to hire one tech, but you're going to have to buy 2 trucks. And you have to have a retail location and you have to do this. And going, but why would I buy 2 trucks? Why would I spend the money until I need the second truck? Why would I do this? There's a lot of things in their business plan that, having run businesses, just didn't make sense to me. And when you looked at who the franchisor was, they had several franchisor companies. They had lots of different industries. So they really didn't know the tech business. Obviously, they found
Mhm.
some way to make some success in franchising, but I didn't really feel like these people were going to be good long-term partners. I was looking for a partner who was not making money off the initial fees, that was making their money off the long-term, frankly, revenues, because I felt that would be a good partner who really wanted to make a long-term success with me. Um, there was another company, franchisor B, that I looked at, that frankly I thought was a very nice option, and I really seriously considered it, versus CMIT, who I eventually went with. In the end, I went with CMIT specifically because I felt like CMIT had a better marketing package. And if you remember, that's what I wanted. I knew how to do operations. I wasn't worried about that. I was worried about how to do the sales and marketing, and I felt they were stronger there. And that's why I went with CMIT.
Okay, very cool. Can you just explain what an MSP is? I think,
Yeah,
or
and
I don't think
I
most people know
never
what a
use the
managed
word.
service provider is.
Most people have no idea what MSP is. I never use the term with anyone unless they're in the industry. Um, MSP stands for Managed Services Provider, which also means almost nothing to anyone. That's why I really don't like the term. What it really is someone who is going to take care of your technology for you in a proactive fashion. They're going to monitor your computers. They're going to do all your patching for you. They're going to handle your security. And rather than doing what used to be done, which is called break fix, I can't print, you show up and help them print, you try to get proactive and make things work, fix problems before they occur rather than waiting for problems to occur. It's a really a philosophy that got into the industry maybe 10 years ago or something like that. And I can tell you it is a much better way to run a computer operation. I recently got to do my very own case study. I had a client was not under a managed plan. They were on a break fix with us. They had been break fix. I finally got them over to a managed service plan, and we watched their ticket count drop in half. All of a sudden, they had half as many problems when we were being proactive for them. So it really is a much better way. If you want your computers to just work and not worry about it, it's really the right way to do it.
Okay, and so break fix means they call you when something breaks and then you fix it.
Right.
And then managed service is
MSP
almost
means
like it's an outsourced IT department.
it's an outsourced IT department. The critical part is you're being proactive. You're monitoring the computers. You're applying patches before they come in. You're looking for problems and fixing them without the user necessarily seeing them. You're saying, oh, look, I see this is out of whack. And then you send someone to the back end remotely without the user even knowing and fix the problems for them. And that's what it's all about.
Perfect. And then can you explain who your customers are?
Sure. So what happens to most small businesses, if you think about a business growing, somewhere around 10 or 12 employees, they start to realize that they need professional IT. They can't just do it themselves anymore. And usually somewhere around 100 employees, they start to realize maybe it's time to pay for an internal full-time person. The traditional MSP lives between that 10 and that 100 employee. These are businesses that are big enough to need help, but too small to hire a full-time person.
Okay, perfect. And so, you know, are there a lot of them?
Oh, there's millions of them all over the country. This is a huge industry. And I think I've got some numbers. I think your average MSP, and I hate to use the word company like this, is frankly like 3 people. Generally, a owner who's also a technician working on their own, maybe 2 people working for them who manage a bunch of clients. And there's many, many of them, as well as some very large ones around the country. It's a large
Okay.
industry.
And what do you do? Are you actually like coding or fixing printers? Like what do you do as the owner?
So, my day is really the day of an account manager and the day of a project manager. While I said I've got my 10,000 hours of code in and I can do it, I'm not a great tech anymore. It's been many years since I did it. My role is really just to, frankly, I say make the clients feel loved. And that is by making sure their needs are met. And both reactively when they call me and proactively as a project manager. So I'm reaching out to clients, I'm working with them on their active projects, making sure we get what we need from them so that we can keep the projects on task. Honestly, it's funny. My clients often call me and they're like, or it's not calling me when I have a new client. They're like, well, we're doing this project. How long will it take? And I'm usually saying, look, I could probably do this in 2 or 3 weeks, but I know because you're not going to have this and you're not going to have that, it's going to take 3 months. We're usually much faster than our clients are, is the truth.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Very, very interesting. So you would say you don't need to be technical if someone wanted to get into the MSP business.
I've seen people, non technical people, learn enough technical skills to do it. What you need to understand is, you need to understand computers at a baseline level. You need to understand what the different tools out there that an MSP uses, what the different antiviruses, the different backups, the different um, support solutions or networking solutions that are out there. You need to understand what their advantages and disadvantages are because to do the job of a owner at the best level, at its highest level, is really being a computer consultant. You're listening to your clients, the business owners. You are trying to understand their business, not just their technology, but the whole business, and then helping them with technology solutions. So to do that, you have to first of all really understand business, number one. Number two, you have to understand all the different technologies that are out there and know which one is right for which case. So, I said I have a saddle of over 100 different technologies we use, but I never show a client more than two or three because I'm pulling the right ones.
Yeah,
Now, I don't, so as the owner, do I have to be technical? No, but I do have to understand the technologies of what they can do and what they can't do. Because, this one may be good for this, but not good for that. Um, but I don't actually know how to install or set up or run any of them. I just know what they can and can't do. And then the technicians are the ones that actually know how to make them do what I said they could do.
very cool. And then so does that include um, they want a new ERP, they want a new CRM, they want some new fancy like AI implementation. Do you offer all those things or do you
So
outsource them? Like what happens when they come to you with those?
And do get those requests, and usually I'm going to go to a specialist in those areas. Look, we are generalists. We're going to be very good at your general all-purpose softwares, your Microsofts, your Googles, your Adobes, the stuff that everybody out there is wearing, along with some basic knowledge of maybe some other stuff. But if you want to dig in and understand different ERPs and different stuff, that's going to be beyond our scope. But what I do have is contacts who know ERPs, who know phone systems, who know different accounting systems. And I've worked with enough of these people with enough different clients that I know who's really good. So I can usually work with those people to help my clients, get those solutions taken care of.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. All right. So let's keep going. So you chose CMIT. You liked all the extra help with marketing and sales and stuff that it got you. What is could you tell us a little bit about training and then how you launched out of training?
No, sure. So I had training was interesting. I actually trained during COVID. So I was not the way they do training anymore. So we did it almost entirely remote because there was no point in getting together to sit around with masks all day. The CMI training was very intensive. I think if I remember correctly, it was like 2 or 3 weeks remote all day, every day, like 8 hours in a Zoom, which was exhausting. And then and that was really just how to run the business, which honestly I didn't need, but it wasn't bad to hear, sales, marketing, which is what I came there for. Um, and then after you did all that, you had to get all the product knowledge. I talked about knowing all the tools and what's
Mhm.
out there, which is frankly provided by the vendors. They're more than happy, of course, to teach you about their products. So then you sit down with the vendors and do product training after product training after product training to really understand all the different stuff. It took a long time to really understand them. And to be honest, it was months before I was really confident. The first couple sales I did, I made some mistakes because I didn't
Mhm.
fully understand all the different options and the powers and limitations of what the options were.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean that's interesting. So it's like a couple weeks of just the business, and then
hmm
was it weeks? Is it days of product knowledge?
It was weeks. It wasn't one shot, but it was like this day I was doing this one. This day I'm doing this one. This one had a 2 day. It was
Yeah.
probably combined weeks.
Wow.
And then CMIT stayed on top of you as well. After you did the main training, I don't remember the exact cadence, but I think after that we went to like bi-weekly meetings and then we went to weekly meetings. I think it was almost a year before they let us go. If that
Yeah,
makes
that's
sense.
great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe a month or so of this training, and then
hmm
tell us how do you launch? Do you have an office now? Did you start with an office? Like, what is
I
the
didn't
whole
have an
idea?
office. Yeah, no. So what does launch even mean, right? So once you feel enough confidence, you start going out there and meeting people and networking and saying, "Hey, I'm here to help you with your computers." And this is a tough business because no one wakes up and says, "Hey, I want to shop my computer provider today" or something like that. I always say there has to be an event in their life. Something has to happen. Something has to crash and they didn't have it covered. They didn't have anyone to help them. They lost data. Their current guy's too slow. Something has to go wrong for them to even think about talking to you. So I really believe the trick to being in this business is getting to know people in the community, getting out there, frankly, telling everyone you already know. And I'm lucky because I've lived in Philadelphia my whole life. I have a lot of contacts here. I told everybody I knew, hey, I just opened this business. If you know anybody who needs computer help, I've been in computers my whole life. I'm here to help now. That's what I do. Go to networking groups. I joined the local chamber of commerce. And the trick is to do that enough until somebody goes, oh, yeah, I do need help, has had that incident. I got pretty lucky. An acquaintance of mine who I knew actually very quickly raised his hand and was like, you know what? We just had a audit done. We're not compliant with this, that, and the other thing in the financial industry. Can you help us? And I was like, sure, I can help you. And that was my first client.
Very cool. Okay, so it sounds like a person who starts this business, even though it's very IT focused, they got to be willing to get out there and shake the bushes a little bit.
Absolutely. Look, being a CMIT owner is not about sitting behind a computer and coding all day. This job is really about being, I call it the IT person in your community. If a business person in your community is having an IT issue, either they should know you or they should have a friend who goes, oh, you got to talk to Keith. He's the computer guy. He can take care of this for you. The trick is to have your name out there and known. It's really about, and you've got to get out there and do it. Yeah. Be known.
Yeah. Okay. So very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I imagine you hired, is it hard to hire techs for this or?
I have never had trouble hiring techs. I know people say, "Oh, it's hard to find people." I have been very blessed. I hired my first tech. I was lucky to find someone who was willing to work part time at the beginning, so it didn't cost me a lot, and that worked out really well. And then I brought him on full time as my business grew. But yeah, I've always been able to find good talent for the most part. Now, I'm not a great hirer, honestly. What I learned is while there's lots of people available, finding the right ones can be tricky. And so I now use a third party who does a wonderful job of screening them for me and saving me from myself because I love everybody I interview. Everybody I interview, I think, is great and is going to do fabulous here.
Yeah. 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 That's so funny.
Yeah. Every interview, I'm like, this guy can do it. This girl can do it. Everybody can do it. So I've learned, you learn when you're the CEO, you learn what jobs you have to delegate. And I've learned that interviewing and hiring is definitely one of them.
Okay. All right. So I'm guessing the ramp up process is, you find this guy part time, you're out really just getting to know people. Like most B2B, I imagine it's a slow startup, but then
Mhm.
there's retention. So things kind of snowball. Can you kind of
Yep.
talk through what that whole maybe first year looked like?
Yeah, sure. So, and you're absolutely right. This business is all about, there's three different revenue streams, if you will. There's like your recurring revenues, your monthly maintenance fees. And a mature company lives off of those monthly maintenance fees. That's how a mature company in our industry lives. That's healthy. But you have none in the beginning. So in the beginning, the good news is in this industry is when you bring on a new client, you traditionally charge them a fee because there's a lot of work in bringing on a new client, getting things set up. You charge them onboarding fees. So I was bringing in maybe a client a month, and those onboarding fees were really what I was living off of. And then, as you said, as the monthly fees start to accumulate and ramp up, that's good. But the onboarding fees kept me going. It took about, I think it was, actually, I remember it was 9 months. It was the first month that I was cash positive. But
Okay.
then 10 months I wasn't again. But every 11 months I was, and every month thereafter I have been. So it took, three-quarters of a year to get to cash positiveness.
I mean, that's great for a new business. And that's with an office, or you said you were working from home?
So I did not have an office. I was working from home. I had my tech working from home at this point. I did eventually end up with an office, but not in the beginning.
Okay. All right. I mean, still like sub 1 year cash flow positive
Yeah.
reliably.
Yeah.
Solid. Yeah. Okay, great. And so let's fast forward. You're 5 years later. You have
Mhm.
Did you start with 2 territories or you added like, let's just talk about where you are today. Like, what does that look like?
Sure. So today so what happened to me actually, and I got lucky. It was unlucky for one other gentleman. So I had the territory in the western suburbs where I'd grown up and lived my whole life of Philadelphia. There's another gentleman who had Cherry Hill, New Jersey, which is the eastern suburbs of PA, who I had worked with. We had actually done a joint venture trying to get a couple clients together. And I'm sorry to say he had some health issues and had to sell his
Oh,
business. Um, it was good fortune for me because I got to buy his business. And frankly, I got some great clients and a really good staff. He was a really good hirer. So about 18 months into my journey, I got the opportunity to buy his business and I picked up the office in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. So I got a whole bunch of clients. I got, what was it? I guess 4 additional technicians, a physical location along with it. That's how I ended up at the second area. Yeah.
got it. And so how many and, if you're comfortable sharing this, like, how many clients do you have? How many technicians do you have? Do you have
Sure.
vans? Like, what does your footprint look like?
No, so fast forward today, we have about 120 clients.
Oh,
We manage about 2,500 seats, as we call them, individuals that we're supporting. We
wow. Okay.
have 9 full-time technicians, myself, and a full-time, what we call service delivery manager, which is a logistics person. She keeps all the trains running on time, does all the scheduling, orders all the equipment, keeps the rest of us going where we're supposed to be going.
Yeah. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
it's a big team. Um,
Yeah.
alright, and then can you so, again, however much you wanna share, I don't know if you wanna hit, like, your revenue, like, as you grew from, like, year 1, year 2, year 3, like, what is it
I
looking like
don't know that I
now?
can recite it. I don't mind sharing, but I don't know that I can recite it. I can tell you this year we were just short of 3 million in revenue. I wanted to hit 3 million and I missed it. I was a little annoyed.
Oh, wow. So, 5 years and 3,000,000, that's great. And do you think it was like a slow ramp, kinda like what we talked about, and things have been really snowballing these last couple years? Like, what does that look like?
So there is definitely a snowball effect, and for a
Yeah.
couple of reasons. One thing that happens is in the beginning, I'm doing everything. It's me. I have one part-time person. I'm the project manager. I'm ordering the equipment. I'm handling the scheduling. I'm handling everything that comes in the door. And even like if there's a weird technical concern, well, I'm not the tech. I still have to like make decisions and stuff. Once I started to get a team under me, I had a head tech who could handle the more technical decision-making questions. I needed to get involved. I had that logistics person who could handle the day-to-day logistics of scheduling and ordering equipment and stuff like that, and make sure everything was running on time. This freed me to just about become a full-time salesperson, relationship person, project manager, work with my clients. And then the sales accelerated because now I have time to do nothing else. So there was definitely there's definitely in the beginning, it's hard because you just don't have time to commit as much to the sales. Once you start to have a team under you, you can be a full-time salesperson, a full-time networker, and the sales start to take off. So there's definitely a kind of a snowball to it.
Yeah, yeah. And so did that really happen at 18 months when you acquired, like, kind of a team, or did it happen
It
before?
did. Yeah. That 18-month mark was really, yeah. As soon as we did that, the sales took off a lot faster because it freed me from a lot of responsibilities.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very cool. So it's also, right, when they say you need more uh capital than you think, um I'm okay, I can get the business going, it's running, it's good, but, am I gonna pay myself or am I gonna hire somebody and pay them so that I can accelerate the business? And if you don't have
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Those are hard decisions, particularly when there's the cash hit. The business isn't cash positive, and of course, now looking at hindsight, oh yeah, sure, it took you 9 months, but I didn't know that at month 3, I didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah, it's scary. It's even though,
Yeah,
like,
it's scary.
yeah. Did you do, like, a financial plan and you were kind of
Oh yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I had a budget, and actually, and I was pretty true to it the first year. I remember I had more clients than I hoped. Like I'd done more clients, but they were smaller than I hoped, and the net of it was right about where I thought I'd end up. So I ended up being pretty much on target. Yeah,
Oh, perfect. Okay, great.
yeah.
Um Okay, and then is there anything else that you think was major, to you being able to scale? Any other type of hiring or skills that you acquired that was like, this allowed you to really move quicker?
So I think the big thing that is frankly coming. Most people I feel like who buy franchises come out of corporate America, is my experience. And I hate to discourage those who do, but one thing I think really helped me was the fact that I was already an entrepreneur. And I talked about how doing this job at a very high level is about really understanding the business owner's needs. I think because I had had a business before, I had a good ability to talk business owner to business owner, really understand them, and therefore really help them with their technology and get them comfortable with me that I could help them with their technology in ways that if I was just a salesperson, I wouldn't be able to do. So I think that was really
Yeah.
key. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, can you talk about some major challenges that you've faced growing the business?
Oh God, sure. So the first one is that first client I talked about. I sold the wrong backup solution. I didn't understand the products well enough, and it was not doing what I thought, costing me more than I thought. And I had to go in, change it out at my own expense, eat the cost of everything else. So yeah, I mean that was definitely one big, hit that came through that was very painful along the way.
Is it a
Um,
hardware and software? So, like, you gotta go and physically change things or
No, it was software. We had to touch every I had to tell my client, "I'm sorry," and convince them to let me have a technician call them and work one-on-one with every person to remove the old backup and put the new backup on.
Oh, yeah.
Which, and nobody wants to go, "Hey, I'm gonna steal an hour from each of your employees to your
Yeah,
first customer."
yeah.
Nobody wants to ever have to say that. But it was a learning curve. I won't make that mistake again. Um,
Okay.
and,
What
yeah.
else?
Yeah, there definitely was cash flow challenges early on. You try to guess at what the cash flow is going to hit, and I talked about those onboarding fees helping you out, but it doesn't always hit exactly the way you want. And sometimes you think you got it under control, particularly after I bought the business and I thought I knew what the new things looked like, but I was wrong and I made some mistakes, and that was not fun. But we're over that now once again. So yeah, there definitely some hard challenges along the way growing this thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Um, and then what about the, kind of the future? So, like, what are your goals over the next year, 5 years, 10 years, like, whatever your long-term goals are?
Yeah. So, my long term goal, I should say my short term goal is to continue the path we've done. I really like the way the business is headed. We've migrated from really, our core client 3 or 4 years ago was like a 20-seat, professional firm, architecture, engineer, financial services. And now we've really gotten a niche in the financial services industry. We've gotten very good at them. They have very specific appliances, very specific needs. So we've kind of really niched down into one very specific industry. And I think that's been a real good move for us. And if you talk to a lot of people in my industry, a lot of them pick a niche like that. Not say financial services, but find one area where they can really excel. So I want to continue to grow that niche. And that's been really good. And I want to grow it organically. I want to continue to find, good people, accountants, RIAs, financial planners, those kind of people that I want to work with and help keep their client stuff safe for them. I think that's really where I want to grow it.
Wow, so you're doing 3 million with just financial planning?
No, not just financial planning. It is my
Okay,
core. It's probably 45% of my business. It's the
okay.
growing part of the business. But by the way, the other 65 is everything on earth.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got everything you can imagine. I've got a lot, with a lot of nonprofits for some reason. I don't know why, but I've got a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting, okay. Um, and so as you're growing, right, you said organically, I mean, is there a way to, like, I don't know, can you run ads for this? Like, what other ways are there to grow?
Yeah, no. Well, I say there's three major sources of how I get my leads. Number one is referrals. Over half my business comes from referrals. So I think the best thing I can do to grow this business is continue to find ways to make my existing clients screaming fans. And I do believe I have screaming fans. Actually, if I can brag for a minute, I have it here at my desk. Today, I literally got a handwritten thank you note from one of my clients for how
Oh,
we take
wow.
care of them. Yeah, I mean, who writes a handwritten thank you note anymore?
Yeah,
So I mean, I think our clients love us, and half our clients are coming from referrals. But I want to find more ways to kind of like, great, so they are. Let's find more ways to keep in front of them. Keep those who maybe aren't screaming fans, get them to screaming fans. I think that's the one thing we can really do. And I think a lot of that is about exceeding expectations, which means finding things I can do for them that frankly they're not looking for or not in the sales pitch, but I can do just to make their life easier. Because most of my clients don't want to deal with IT. They want to run their business. They want to do what they do. One of the things I teach my support team is nobody wants to talk to you.
yeah,
So your job is to get the, no, I mean, you laugh, but it's true. I say,
yeah,
look,
yeah,
if they're talking to you, they're not making any money. You want to be nice, but you want to get them off the phone and back to work as soon as possible. And that might mean it might mean saying, look, this is going to take some time. Can I do it tonight? It might mean saying, hey, this takes some time. Why don't you go get a cup of coffee or go to a meeting while I do it? Or can I do this later while you're in a meeting? But find ways to get that person off the phone. Nobody wants to sit there for an hour while you fix a problem. Get them off the phone as quickly as possible. So those are the kind of things you do to try to get them there. And like, what else can we do that they maybe didn't expect? What is a little something I can give them that they're not expecting that'll make them love you more? I think that's really powerful with people. So
yeah.
that's number one is, get more referrals because that's big. Number two, frankly, is my networking. I talked about, being in the community and being out there and being known as the IT guy. And number three is old school. I have an email campaign, believe it or not, that's very successful.
Oh,
That often enough catches someone at that moment when they are looking for a provider that it is successful for me. So I have an email campaign.
very cool. Okay. And so
Yeah.
let's now talk more about like the franchisor. Can
Mhm.
you talk about the support and how it's changed over the years? Because I'm sure the support you needed 5 years ago is much different than what you're looking for now.
Absolutely. So, like I said, the first year they're all over me, and rightfully so. First year they're checking in, they're always training you, they're giving you a lot. I'm calling them with questions like, I got an upset client. What do I do? And they're giving me advice on what to do and that kind of stuff. I mean, there were some times I called them panics, like, a client called me, my tech didn't fix it on the first try, and I had no idea how to handle it. Do I give them all their money back? Like, what do I do?
Ah,
They're like, don't panic, don't panic. So they were very helpful in the first year and very hands-on. Look, as it evolves, it really moves much more to peer support, at least within CMIT. So what they do is they move you to a mastermind group of other CMITs. So I'm in a group with, I think, about 12 other people who have the exact same business I do, but other parts of the country. We talk every 2 weeks on Zoom. We meet a couple times a year in person. We help each other. We support each other. Oh, have you looked at this? Oh, have you had this problem before? And they replace in a lot of ways what the corporate office does. Because look, they've been there, done that. And it's
mhm,
the same sort of thing. I had a problem with a client. We made a mistake. I had to fix it. Now I'm not panicked, but I'm kind of debating the best way to handle it. I call one of them and say, hey, here's what we did. Here's what I'm thinking of remedies. What do you think is the best way to do it? Yeah, to handle it.
very cool.
So it's the same
Yeah.
question, but very different level. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I like that, because they're the ones, like, living it day to day, and I'm sure it helps because it
Mhm.
helps them think through things that they're
Oh,
experiencing.
or different ideas, or hey, have you tried this? I got a client with this problem. Have you ever seen this before? Actually, I have. One of them reached out to me and said, I never saw this before. So my clients had that. I know how to fix it. My tech can help you. Let me help you. That kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
great.
it's such an evolving business. Like, you must be constantly, like, studying and learning because tech is changing, it feels like daily.
Constant. Yeah, no, look, we have monthly trainings. We're going to, my lead tech is at a conference right now, trying to get up to speed on the new stuff going on. Cybersecurity has become huge and incredibly important for our customers in terms of keeping them safe and compliant. So it's a constantly evolving thing. And that's part of the fun for me. I'm a guy who loves to explore new worlds and see new things. And that's the fun of tech, is always getting to explore all these new things that are coming out.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And then what do you think has kinda been the key? Because maybe I'm wrong, but I imagine you're one of the larger franchisees in the system, right? So, like, what's allowed you to grow where maybe other people have kind of not get to where you are in that same amount of time?
I think a lot of it is putting your clients' needs first. It's interesting when I talk to some of the people who haven't grown as much, I hear them like debating, like, do I do this for the client or do it myself? And they're like nitpicking their client and hitting them little bills. And they think they're like taking care and not, they're worried that they're not going to get their due. Sometimes I think you just have to forget about what you're doing and just take care of your client. Just think
Mhm.
about, if you were them, what would you want? How would you want the person to handle it? And just take care of them. I've hired some technicians from other people, and they say one of the things they love about working here is that whatever the answer is, it's always take care of it for the client. Just fix it. We'll figure it out later. And I don't think they do that, and therefore I don't think they develop those screaming fans. And I think that's part of the key.
Yeah, because this is such a, like, it's almost intimate. Like, your computer is, like become a part of you, and, like, you are, protecting my computer.
Well,
It feels
and we
very
have
intimate.
access to your computer. Don't remember, like, how many people are you going to give access to your computer to? But
Yeah.
we're going to have access. Yeah, no, absolutely. And also, it's so critical. If you lose your computer for an hour, you can't work. Nobody can anymore.
Mhm.
It's so critical that it be fast and you have confidence that it's taken care of and it gets fixed. It's so critical to business today. You really need someone. If you're worried that you're not going to get your computer fixed, you're worried. If it's taken care of, it's a whole thing off your plate.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And then, you mentioned that you were doing you're like doing operating systems, you're doing the big software. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe I'm wrong. I'm believing the hype that I'm reading on X, but it feels like
Okay.
the computer experience is going to change. Where they said like the new terminal is just going to be like an AI that you just tell it what to do. Like how much of, co-work, Claude co-work, or sorry, Copilot, Claude co-work, the new Claude bot or whatever that they have, like how much of this is concerning you that like you're gonna have to almost redo the business to keep these people up to speed with these like breakneck technology
It's
changes.
not going to look, it's going to be a pivot like anything else. And I don't believe the vision that you're supposed to sit on a Claude bot and talk to AI all day. I
Yeah.
still think we're going to want more. By the way, depending on what you do. I mean, I have very specific, what AI has done. If you look, and I'm old enough to remember the PC revolution. When I was a kid, there were no PCs, everything was paper. And offices had loads and loads of administrators, executives had secretaries who were, frankly, a whole level of knowledge workers. The PC came around and just removed that whole level of knowledge workers. Those, executives now type their own emails. There's a lot less administrators in the world because computers did all that work for them and it went away. I look at AI very differently. To me, AI is stripping out another level of knowledge workers. Okay, yeah, there used to be, if I need a list of zip codes transferred into city names or something like that, I used to get an intern to do it. Now I just throw in AI and it spits it back at me. If I need a lot of long document and regulations summarized, I used to give it to someone to read. Now I throw it at AI. It's eliminating another level of knowledge workers, in my opinion, but I don't see it as this revolutionarily massive change. People always take what they see and they like to linearly extrapolate into the future and think that's what the future is going to be. And they're almost always wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So are we going to have to adapt to AI? Absolutely. Is AI going to integrate into your operating system, into your everyday life? Absolutely. For many of us, myself included, it already is. Do my people have to know how to operate AI, configure AI, make sure AI is properly secured? Absolutely. But this is no different than we did with Word and Excel and QuickBooks and everything else we've always done. It's just one
Yeah.
more tool and it's a minor pivot. I don't see this as a major change.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's even good because like I imagine if you remember like Windows XP to the next version of
Hmm.
Windows was like a catastrophic change for some people. They just couldn't figure it out.
Yes.
Do you guys do
Yep.
consulting to like teach employees how to use the new thing?
It's so funny you mentioned that because so often, people come to me with the tech question, like, well, can we do this? Can we do this? And I say, so often when people come to me with projects, I say to them, the hard part of what you want is not the technology. I can do this. We can set it up. I can cut you over. The hard part is going to be getting your people on board and changing how you
Yeah.
people work. People do not like change. People like to do things that they've always. I have a great story. And it's from very early on in my career. We had a CEO. We got him a new computer. We set the whole thing up. We put all the software on. Everything was pre-configured for him. We set it up. I walked out of his office and literally says, "I can't read my email." He starts screaming, and I walked back. And Outlook has two modes. You can put the preview pane on the side, or you can put it on the bottom. It was on the bottom instead of the side where he was used to it. And he couldn't, and he was right. He could not read his email that way. It was so confusing to him that people really struggle with change. So I often find change management on the human side is really the hardest part of a lot of the projects we do.
So but do you guys do that? Like, hey,
Oh
for an
yeah, we
extra
do trainings all the time.
oh you do.
Not for an extra. It's typically part of a project. I'll say, look, here's the setup time. Here's this. Here's the training we're going to do as part of it to get your people on board. Here's what I'm anticipating in terms of calls to the help desk afterwards when they get confused and forget things because they're going to. That's
Mhm.
got to be part of a project because the human element's always the hardest part. There's always someone who's attached to what they were doing before that has trouble moving into the new way.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, very interesting. Um, okay, so now let's talk about kind of growth a little more. You said
Hmm.
mostly you're doing sales, and it's so
Hmm.
relationship. One
Hmm.
thing that I'm always worried about when I'm looking at my next business is I don't
Yep.
want people to know the business as Josh, right? I want them to know
Hmm.
it as fill in the blank
Yep.
because I want to be able to leave, and
Yep.
if Josh isn't here, is the business going to keep going? Do you think that you could hire a salesperson and hand over all of these relationships and it would be okay? Or are you kind of stuck doing what you're doing, do you think?
No, it's a really good point and something I've put a lot of thought and energy into. And something we're trying very hard to do is not make it just me. Well, look, I'm going to be the primary relationship person because that's my role. We are very big on trying to have them have relation, not just with me, but with my head tech when they have technical and security concerns, with our service delivery manager for logistics. I like to think of it as a loving swarm of people that they're going to work with here. People say, who's my person? They're all worried about when I get new clients, who's my person? Who's my account manager going to be? Who's going to take care of me? They're worried about having that point person. And I work very hard not to give them a point person, but that they have a relationships with the various people here in our organization. That to me is what it's really all about, is that it's not just me. Um, I think if I'm going to move out of the business before I could even do that, I would have to stop being the primary relationship person and transition that to somebody else. And that's so frankly part of my long-term plan, which we didn't get to was is my head tech very much would like to take on that role, and we are very slowly starting to make those moves so that he can and take a
Okay.
larger role in those things. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's funny you talk about relationships. And if I can, one thing I was very proud of is one of our help desk people, and this is a help desk guy. He sits behind a desk, he fields phone calls, he fixes printers, and he's built some real relationships with one of our clients. So much so that when they discovered that he had never been to a concert in his life, I guess the guy doesn't like music or something. Well, my client's son was the producer of a major artist, and the major artist came to his town, and my client got him tickets to go to his first concert. He
That's
said, "You've
so
never
great.
been to a concert, like you've got to do this," because he had a relationship. These are real relationships. This isn't. You don't think a help desk is a guy you're going to know, but they obviously really know each other. I think, frankly, they have a better relationship than I do with that client, which is great. That's all I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's so
Yeah.
funny. I believe that. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and so is that what you think, like, how would you define, like, the best part of, owning this business is?
So I love digging into businesses. I love business. I just do this. My third business, as I said, I love learning about different businesses, talking to business people. Maybe that's part of the reason. And so I love the networking part of it. I say I do a lot of it because it works, but I also do it because I am more than happy to sit down with someone and talk about their business for an hour and see how they're thinking, what drives the business, and what's important and what's not important, and what's important to their clients. And I find it's really fascinating, and I love doing it. I actually this morning I had breakfast with someone I know from a networking group. And we talked about his business, and it's been through a fascinating transform. He's moving from working with Fortune 500s to working with small businesses, but doing the same product, and it's got
Right.
ups and downs. And fascinating story to talk to. And I love having those conversations. It's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like to be good at this, you have to truly be like a curious person because you
Hmm.
have to learn about constantly the change in IT as well as the change in these businesses and get to know them. And if you just don't love learning new things, it wouldn't work very well. That's what it sounds like.
No, you got to like love learning the business and love learning the tech and then put them together for people. That's how you do this right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And then what about like on the personal side? Like, do you feel like this has been a good fit for you in your life? Are you a workaholic? Does it allow you to go on vacation? Like, how does this fit in with your life?
No, look, this is my third business and my favorite. It's by far my wife's favorite because it has the best work life balance, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. For what it's worth. I'm working, I don't know, 45, maybe 50 hours a week. Not horribly. I'm not on call. I'm not, I used to, in the previous business, frankly, I was working hard, but then I'd also get a lot of calls after hours and I couldn't really control when they came in. I had to deal with it. In this business, I'm much more in control of my time and I love it. And I have lots of hobbies that I explore. I take a ton of vacation and I travel. I just came back from 2 weeks overseas with my wife. So the lifestyle has been really good. I really loved it.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, that's great to
Yeah.
hear. What do you think's been the most, just like in general, what's the part that you just enjoy the least?
To be very, very honest, I have a one-on-one meeting with every one of my people every week. I do half the company. My head tech does half the company. We walk through every ticket and make sure everything's going on and everything's cool. We give them advice and just to make sure. And it's not so much about the tickets that are in front of you, but like just how they're thinking. And it's a way of like checking on them and seeing what's going. And to be very honest, it's tedious. It's tedious. It's the same stuff
Yeah.
over and over a lot. I can't say I love it. I've told them they know this, but I also feel it's important for the technicians' growth because it's our opportunity to say, "Hey, how did you approach this problem? How did you approach that problem? How can we do this better?" It's very important, I think, but I feel like it gets very repetitive. It's not as much teaching and more like rote than I wish it was. If everyone was interesting in teaching, I would love it, but it gets very rote.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I bet that's also part of why your customers really enjoy working with you because I bet the rate of growth of your technicians are really fast. If you're talking to them every single week and going through every single problem, they have to be learning quickly.
Look, I think, look, I believe in learning. It's funny. We just hired someone. We onboarded someone today, and frankly, he was not the most knowledgeable of the people we interviewed, but he had this great love of knowledge and eagerness and wanting to learn and love tech. And we just said, this is a guy who's going to like grow here.
Mhm.
I really believe you've got to grow if you're going to live. So if we have core values like a lot of businesses, one of them is learning. You've got
Yeah.
to learn. If you're not learning, then if you don't want to learn here, I don't really want to have you. Right? You got to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. Okay. And then what advice do you have for a person who's, where you were 5 years ago? They're kind of looking for a business to own, and they're considering franchising.
Franchising in general, I would say find something you love. Don't. You can tell I love what I do. I've been doing it since I was a kid. I know follow your passion is a bit common advice, but I believe it. You're going to spend too much time in your life working to do something you're not going to enjoy. Don't just look at the financials, look at what the job is going to be. Like, what is your day to day going to be in that business? And are you going to enjoy that task? And, this is probably a perfect example. If you're a tech guy and you love writing code and you love working in technology, this is a horrible job for you because that's not the job I'm doing. You may
Yeah.
think this is the right franchise, but it's not. Right? I mean, that's not what I've talked about my job is. So find a franchise that where your day-to-day job is one that you're going to enjoy doing and do well.
Yeah. Really good advice. I think the best way is to talk to franchisees. That's kind of one of the reasons why I do this, just so people can hear
Mhm.
about it. Um, but also, you know, th- people, I think it's too big. Like they say, "Oh, I'm passionate about wine." Doesn't mean that necessarily you should be a wine connoisseur, but maybe you love
If
people or you love providing experiences.
you're passionate about wine and you're, I don't know, importing wines, you're probably not spending all day drinking wine. You're
Yeah.
probably spending all day doing other things that are totally unrelated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you really got to think through the day to day. Yep. Great
Yeah,
advice.
you got to think what is really the job? Because in certain ways you're locking yourself into a job, and what is that job?
Mhm.
Because there's you probably some part of it. Look, you're going to hire people, you're going to delegate, but there's probably some parts you really can't, and you got to figure out what those are.
Yeah. Okay. Well, very cool, Keith. Is there anything else that you think people should know either about CMIT or about franchising or just about like considering if this is right for them in general?
I would say this: talk to a lot of people. And, I have a lot of people who've approached me over the years with questions like you about franchising, about what you do. And I find them to be very scared to ask questions. Oh, even you were like, can I ask revenues? Can I ask the questions? The worst someone will say is, no, I'm not comfortable answering that. But don't be afraid to ask people questions. In my experience, people are more open and more willing to share. And frankly, most people love to talk about themselves. If you get them talking, they'll be more than happy to share details with you. So I encourage you to very nicely and very kindly ask all the questions you feel you are curious about.
Awesome.
Nothing's off the table.
Great advice, Keith. So, all right. Thank you. So again, I'm Josh Emison with Tracer Franchising. If you want free education, help finding franchises that are a good match, right? Defining the day to day that's a good fit for you, and then doing research. That's what we do, right? Tons of cool tools, as well as one-on-one coaching from me, and it's all free. So go to tracerfranchising.com to start that journey. All right, Keith, thanks again, and good luck with the continual growth of your business.
Thank you very much, and good luck with the podcast.
Thanks.